I think in this moment it is not possible to consider the admission of Turkey in the European Union.
This is Faith Complex, hosted by Professor Jacques Berliner-Blau of Georgetown University.
Hello, my name is Jacques Berliner-Blau of Georgetown University, and you're watching Faith Complex. Today we have as our guest the former president of Spain, José María Aznar. President Aznar is also distinguished scholar in the practice of global leadership on the faculty of Georgetown University. President Aznar, it is such an honor to have you here today on Faith Complex.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very pleased to be here.
President Aznar, we recently marked the 8th anniversary of the September 11th attacks. You were in office in Spain during the attacks. Can you tell us what changed in the world on that day?
Changed the world. History changed.
3 years later, Spain experienced its own horrific terrorist attack on 3/11/2004. The national general election took place on the 14th, 3 days after. Of course, your party was defeated. Many critics argue that part of the defeat was a result of your party's response to the initial attack. In fact, the claim that it was ETA and it wasn't Islamic extremists. Do you think there's any validity to that?
It was the decision to intervene in the democratic process and to change the will of the purposes of the people. This is a very, very bad precedent for all democracies, all the countries in the world. Terrorism is not an ideology. Terrorism is a tool that uses some ideologies to change by force, by violence, situation and things. In the case of September 11, the objective of terrorists was humiliate the United States. In the case of Madrid, the objective was change the historical process in the country.
In your book, 8 Years as Prime Minister, you write, there was not a single state representative or media source advancing any other hypothesis at the time other than it was ETA that conducted the attack. So your initial response, it was a reflex, was not unusual. This is what everyone assumed was the case.
We combating and fighting against ETA during 4 decades, and we continue. But now, in this moment, after a lot of time, there is several aspects of this attack that is not clear. It's unclear at the moment. No. It's necessary to be prudent because in the future, I am sure that will appear and other circumstances surrounded this attack at this state.
In fact, you have intimated that Islamists may not have been acting alone on 3/11. Do you have anything concrete to substantiate the claim?
Well, it's possible the implication of Islamists, but it's possible, is sure in my view, that the people that decide the attack know very well Spanish politics.
Now that you are a private citizen, and I would add a faculty member at Georgetown University.
I try to be a private citizen.
You try to be a private citizen. And you look at the Zapatero administration. What's your assessment of the way they deal with Islamic extremism, both internally in Spain and Islamic extremism abroad?
I don't like the expression of some policies of the current government in Spain.
Do you think the policies of the current administration in Spain have served to in any way endanger the physical safety of Spanish citizens?
In the start of this term, in international policy, in foreign policy, is appeasement. They make a negotiation very dangerous with the terrorist group ETA. And this policy of appeasement is a very bad policy.
President Obama in the United States has made many symbolic gestures to the Islamic world. You were a world leader, you were on the world stage. What's your assessment of them?
One thing is the Islamic world, another thing is terrorists. The different things. No? And terrorists, some part of the terrorists use Islamism against democracies and to trying to destroy our societies. And one thing is to have a good relationship with the countries that represent the Muslim world. Another thing is to accept a policy based in appeasement to trying with terrorists. And for me, this is a mistake.
Do you see any blind spot in the Obama administration's foreign policy vis-a-vis troublesome states, for example, or non-state actors?
I don't understand very well what is the strategy, for example, of this administration about Iran. The message from allies and for enemies are very complicated to understand in this moment, in my view. I think that Iran, during the last 3 decades, is in a policy to lie international agencies, alliance to the world. And there exists a very serious threat. And this threat is necessary to be considered seriously, not 1 week in one direction, another week in another direction.
You made a brilliant suggestion about NATO, where you argued that NATO's mission should be reconfigured, and what NATO should do is 1, fight jihadism, and 2, help fledgling democracies stand up on their feet. Where did you get the impetus for such a brilliant idea?
I consider that NATO is a great organization, but the threat changes. There is non-exist Soviet Union. There is not the threat of communism. Exists the threat of terrorism, especially the threat of jihadists. And maybe it's necessary to make an enlargement of NATO at different parts of the world, because if the threat is global, the answer should be global.
In 2006, you write, Europe is not a Christian club, but it must be possible to maintain its Christian character. Similar remarks were made by John Paul II and Pope Benedict. Tell us what you understand by the Christian character of Europe.
Absolutely. This is impossible to explain in Europe with explaining, talking about, speaking about the root Christians of Europe. What's the expression of Europe about during centuries? No, this is absolutely necessary. No.
How does this impact upon your thinking about Turkey's possible inclusion into the EU?
For me, it is not only a religious question. It's especially a question of the capacity for European institutions to assimilate a country or a dimension of Turkey. I think in this moment it's not possible to consider the admission of Turkey in the European Union, because the European Union has not the capacity to assimilate this integration. No. In the future, it's necessary to talk about this. No, but the future is future.
Where do you see European values most under threat?
Well, there is a lot of examples, no, but relativism is more threat. Relativism is to believe in anything. It's possible to create a society that to believe in anything.
But that grows in European thought. That's not an external development. That's part of the European.
Agnosticism, relativism is predominant today in Europe. With enormous intelligence, the current Pope making this and stress this situation maybe as the main and the most important problem for the future in Europe.
But we see healthy societies such as Denmark, for example, that have extremely high rates of non-belief. So I don't think that relativism is necessarily the greatest evil confronting Europe. One can be a non-believer and one can be a very moral person.
Well, I think one thing is to believe or not believe, and another thing is to share a system of values that forge the history of a society, and that guarantee a coexistence in freedom and in democracy. Personally, I defend this. Another thing is the individually beliefs of each individual. No? But to maintain a serious core of values in a society, for me, is basic.
President Aznar, thank you so much for coming today.
It's a pleasure for me. It's an honor for me. Thank you very much.